Hey, walk us into, so what, March of 2019, roughly, walk us into EarthTech, kind of how that idea was formulated, how it was started. Walk us into the whole thing. And by the way, it's earthtech.io, right? For the listeners, earthtech.io. Yeah, walk us into it a little bit. Go for it.
Yeah, so we're coming back from Boulder. It was time to bring the kids back to Australia. And I took the kids to the Great Barrier Reef and saw the damage. And I was thinking about, like, in Boulder, I was doing some stuff with social enterprise, and I was kind of falling in love with that as a concept anyway. And social enterprise, impact ventures, profit for purpose, whatever you call it. But it's using capitalism as a mechanism, but not a purpose. So the purpose of a social enterprise, profit for purpose organization, impact venture, is that the product or the purpose of the organization, the mission of the organization, the way that the organization is structured up, the way it delivers its solution to the problem, is focused on the environmental or social cause that you generally imagine, or you generally think of a charity or a not-for-profit. But you're using capitalism as a mechanism. And so I was already kind of falling in love with this, came back to Australia, saw the damage to the reef, and it was just a lightning bolt to the gut. It was like right, at 40 something years old, if I'm not spending the rest of my life using my resources, my craft, my knowledge that I've acquired, the mental scars all over me from mistakes made, the people I know, etc. If I'm not like corralling all of that to help, ultimately make the planet a bit better for my kids, then what's the point? Right. And it started very selfishly. Like, I was not thinking about saving the whales and waving the flag. I was thinking about what my kids would think about me on my deathbed. If I had the opportunity to do more and I didn't.
I see.
So it started really selfish, right? It's broadened out a bit since then, but that was that. There's no Samaritan story here. Like, this was me wanting to not look, wanting my kids to be proud of me when I died. That was it. And then shortly after that, because this is what happens in life, right? When you have a realization and you start focusing on something, all of a sudden people start walking into your life that align to it. You're thinking about red cars, all of a sudden all you see is red cars. And for me, that was my now co-founder, Brian. And, I've had 7 startups, I've had 2 successes, I've had 3 or 4 failures, or 2 or 3 failures, a couple of question marks, check back in 5 years' time. But I've never had a business partner that was truly like the yin to my yang. I've got a marriage like that. My wife's super awesome, but I've never had a business partner where it was truly like, complementary. And so I'm coming at this from a sort of a fast growth ventures, scale up, being the prime mover kind of space. Brian's coming at this from a deep design, brand trustworthiness, technology. He ran TEDx in the place that we live for a long time. So rallying people around ecosystem building. And basically what brought us together was this philosophy that the planet's fucked. We don't have an enormous amount of time, and it could be multi-generations, but
that's still not a lot. But still, in the big scheme of things, that's not a lot of time.
That's it. And like traditional societies, talk about like seven generations. So they make decisions based off 7 generations past and 7 generations forward. We make decisions in our culture based on political cycles and quarterly shareholder updates, right? And so when you take a slightly longer view, the planet's we're just using it. We're using its resources far too quickly.
Yes. And
so that's a problem. And there's a bunch of inequities in the world, and that's a problem. But man, capitalism is powerful. Oh my God. Like, it can distribute cost-effective efficient solutions to problems like no other mechanism that humanity's ever come up with. The problem isn't the mechanism. The problem is money is the only thing that matters. And so when you have a purpose above and beyond the money and the mechanisms to attract it, i.e. investment, to deploy it, and to make it regenerative, it's a powerful mechanism. And so what we kind of came to what brought us together in our belief system, and that's an important part, right? When you're setting out in an endeavor, values are really what sticks this thing together, particularly with a purpose-led mission.
Yes.
And just as an aside, what I absolutely love about it is that my entrepreneurial kind of career to the point of EarthTech, it was just entrepreneurial. It was just entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. It was just business. Like we were doing kind of cool stuff, evacuating people in medical emergencies, blah, blah, blah. But I didn't care. I honestly didn't care. Like the people I was surrounding myself with, the books that I was reading, they were about growth, revenue, cutting cost, profit. That's what we spoke about. Every board meeting, that's what we spoke about.
Right.
Whereas going back to my military career, like what brought the team together, this high performance team, was purpose. And so what we're endeavoring to do at EarthTech specifically, but also I guess we see ourselves as kind of ecosystem builders, in this entrepreneurial, in this social entrepreneurial space, is that when there's a purpose and a mission that's like significant, man, your ability to rally people around it is astronomical. Like we've got such a high performance team because people are rallied around the mission. Mm-hmm. And so there's an enormous power that can be unlocked there if you really mean it, and if the value system is really strong. Because we are in 2021, we're at a point in our societies sped by COVID, or where capitalism is really stakeholder capitalism. Like we're not selling a product or a service. It goes back to the Simon Sinek thing, right? Why? What's your why? And your what and your how is just how that why is manifested in your communities. And so stakeholder capitalism is really all around how do you engage with people who believe what you believe, that yes, buy your stuff to solve a problem that they have, but whether it's shareholders, whether it's employees, whether it's customers, whether it's communities, whether it's regulators, et cetera, modern day capitalism is really built around this, and you're seeing it. You can look at it on the share price indexes. The companies that are going up are the ones that are really embracing the sort of environmental, social side of their brands, and those that are going the other way are those laggards that are kind of assuming that they can get by just with a product or service that that does its job. So we're all about that at EarthTech, and ultimately, what the problem that we're trying to solve for is that impact investment is the fastest growing asset class in the world. Okay. We're also going through the fastest intergenerational transfer of wealth in human history. And that wealth is going to millennials, to Gen Zs who give a shit. These are the people, and there's plenty of older people as well, who have worked out through this mechanism of social enterprise impact investment that they can have their cake and eat it too. They can generate a return on their investment, good for the pocketbook, and point that towards solving a problem for the environment or humanity. And so what used to happen, and still happens to a regard, is that people would go and earn their money however they earned their money. It didn't really matter. There was no questions asked. There was no liability on the balance sheet for environmental damage or whatever. You made your money, and if you made a lot of it, you were a successful person. And then some of that would go into philanthropy.
Right.
Um,
For tax
whereas now
purposes.
Often for tax purposes. Now we're seeing this coming together, where so according to the United Nations, to achieve what's called the Sustainable Development Goals, which is 17 goals that spell out the environmental and social goals that we as individuals should be aspiring to, and they're pretty basic stuff, right? So it's zero hunger, good education, better equality, better healthcare for all, clean oceans, clean air, like all of the things that we want for our kids and our grandkids and those around the world. To achieve that, we need $4 trillion of new capital deploying into this space every single year. But the mechanisms that we have to deploy that capital that's coming online, because everyone wants in on this, right? Everyone wants in on being able to have your cake and eat it too. Mm-hmm. You're telling me I can get a return on my investment right, and I can do good with that money?
Yes.
Sign me up.
Yep.
So all of these sovereign wealth funds and pension funds and private equity funds and venture capital funds and angel funds and public markets are all jumping on board into this space. Mm-hmm. And they're looking for innovation that is taking society from where we are today to where we need to be a sustainable planet. And whether you're thinking about electric cars or emissions-free energy or better education for everyone or better healthcare for everyone, like all of these things fit in this box. But the mechanism that we have to deploy that capital into the innovation that is needed to get us from where we are today to where we need to go, it's pretty old school. It's pretty clunky. And so what we're doing at EarthTech is building a Henry Ford style assembly line to fast track the deployment of that capital into innovation that can create exponential scale for humanity to achieve these goals. Mm. And so in essence, for us, we're a tech company, but we operate a bit like Goldman Sachs, like that we're an investment bank, and we're not technically a bank. That's not what investment bankers do. What investment bankers do is bring deals together. So we're bringing together the entrepreneurs with the ideas that need the capital to scale up their businesses, to scale up their revenues, but ultimately to scale up the positive impact that they can have on their target. Right. And the funds and the investors that are looking to invest in the next big things. And so it's a journey, but it took us about 2 years to really nail this down and get the whole stack lined up. The purpose, the mission, the product and services, the problem solution mix, the markets we wanted to operate in, the revenue model that was going to be scalable enough and sustainable enough for us to get out there and sort of deliver on the impact that we want to have. And so ultimately our mission is to positively impact 1 billion people by 2030 through the purpose or through the mechanism of innovation towards the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So the call out.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So the call out to your listeners is, some of them may be on either side of this ecosystem. There may be, investors, or they work at investment funds or what have you, that's looking for the next innovation coming through that can solve for these things. Or maybe they're an aspiring or a current entrepreneur that's looking for more capital, more funding to grow their business. And they're the two sides of our ecosystem that we're trying to bring together.